What does Oscar the Grouch keep under that bin lid?
Do you really like it? Is it wicked?
We start with some very sad news. We have a death to announce, and that is our phone number.
Pour one out for 0208123587.
We did pay for the rest of the year, thank you, Skype.
Fuckers.
But then Skype, as you may have noticed, has closed its services forever. And so if you call our phone number, which we used to take questions on, it says, "We're sorry, but the number you called is incorrect. Please hang up and try again."
Oh, it doesn't even play you a clip of John Hannah reading W.H. Auden at a funeral.
And the amount of people who have approached me in real life, I mean, I reckon we're in double figures now, and told me that that was the only landline number they knew apart from their dead nan's number, is off the charts.
That and my childhood phone number. Those are the only two phone numbers I remember.
But the good news is you can still send us a question with your voice by attaching a voice note to an email.
It's simply not the same, is it, as drunk dialing us from a place with no reception?
That's the thing.
Where are we going to get all the questions that are like...
That's true. We are going to miss those. No, we're not going to transition our number to Microsoft Teams. We're not a bunch of accountants here. We're creative professionals.
I was wondering if we could have the phone number still, and if someone calls it drunk at 3 a.m, it just plays them a random bit of Answer Me This. Can someone set that up for us?
That would be nice.
Now, the following question from Chloe is going to shatter illusions, possibly break hearts. So get ready. Chloe says, in the TV show Friends, Phoebe tells Rachel that lobsters find their soulmates and mate for life. I have spent 20 years believing this and idealizing lobster romance, only to recently discover that this is not true. Lobsters don't mate for life at all.
Yeah. In real life, the alcoholics in Cheers would be less witty. You know, I'm not sure sitcoms are the best place to gather factual information.
Especially from Phoebe.
She's an unreliable narrator, isn't she?
She's fanciful. Whimsical.
Yes.
She's vibes-based. She'd be anti-vax.
She totally would.
She also said that lobsters walk around their tanks holding claws, which is obvious bullshit, so why would the rest of the statement ring true? Ollie, answer me this. Why did they say that lobsters mate for life? Why didn't they pick an animal that actually does, rather than spreading this misinformation?
Because Phoebe is, as we're alluding to, quirky, unusual, eccentric. She's kooky, isn't she? Like, that is the cadence of every joke that comes out of Lisa Kudrow's mouth in that series.
Yeah. She's not a marine biologist.
Exactly. You're not supposed to take what she's saying seriously. And if you remember the scene, she's describing Ross's relationship with Rachel to Ross. And she's saying that in her perception, a parallel in the animal kingdom between Ross and Rachel's relationship is lobsters who mate for life. So it's funnier to get it a bit wrong, isn't it? Like, she then embellishes it, as you're saying, by talking about lobsters holding claws walking down the beach. If she said something that was accurate, then that would be less funny than the word lobster, which is intrinsically amusing. Although, having looked into it, because I was thinking, like, they had a big writer's room on Friends, like they'd have had this idea and they would have settled on lobster after like a half-hour discussion. Were there other animals they could have used? And actually, I think beavers would be funnier.
Oh, yeah.
Ross, she's your beaver, right?
Wah, wah.
And actually beavers do, or sometimes do, mate for life. So that would have been accurate and funny.
They couldn't have got it through standards and practice.
I think that's right. I mean, we're not Hays Code era, but, you know, inappropriate for NBC family programming in 1997, I think. So that's why she talks about lobsters.
Some penguins form a pair bond for life, don't they?
Penguins do bond for life, that's right, yes. Some. Like, they all bond for a season, but some then go off serial monogamy route after that.
I had to search this because we did a song for a friend's wedding recently that was animal-based.
Oh, right, yeah.
But there's quite a few.
I imagine Phoebe did a song about this too. Maybe you're the Phoebe of this group.
Oh, that is absolutely true, except Martin does have a science background. Martin, can you sing us a bit of the song? Please.
Which bit do you want me to sing?
The bit that's about animals that mate for life, obviously.
You know how slugs at adult time twist around each other, that's how our lives entwine. And that might sound gross, but it's really nice. Like vultures, beavers, gibbons, flatworms, wolves and mice.
Mice?
They have sweethearts for a long time too, but none of them are quite as lucky as you. And that was for our friend's wedding.
That's a really nice song, Martin. You did a really good job.
And also quite Phoebe-ish.
Yeah, a little bit.
People remember Smelly Cat because they lingered on that as a trope in the show. But actually, I was looking back through some of her other songs from the series to remind myself. These, I think, stand up as jokes, as funny song titles. Ode to a Pubic Hair. Again, that's, I think, racy for, primetime NBC at the time. Ballad of the Circumcised Man, and The Food Here Will Kill You.
That's really good.
If Phoebe had been 20 years younger, she would have had such a big career on YouTube and TikTok.
Yes, exactly.
I wonder whether this misconception arose because lobsters don't lose fertility with age. So they can go through their whole decades-long lives staying just as fertile.
That's the opposite of mating for life.
Right.
That's shagging around till you die, isn't it?
Well, that's the lobster way. Lobsters don't mate for life. They have many short-term partners. In a mating season, the male lobster might mate with up to 10 females. The female lobster will mate with one male per season if she gets what she needs from him, which is enough sperm to birth a load of little baby lobsters. And the whole lobster mating ritual is competitive. It is brutal. The female lobsters want to mate with a big masked lobster, so the male lobsters will fight for dominance. First, they hit or slap each other with closed claws for an hour, and then the fight amps up. They pull off each other's antennae or limbs.
Oh, sorry, these are the boy lobsters in competition.
Yeah. Then the losing lobster will back away. Then the female lobsters line up outside the winning male lobster's burrow to be chosen by the male lobster to mate. How they do that is they all shoot urine out of their faces.
Wow.
God, I wish I could do that. What a skill.
It travels up to 7 times the length of their bodies. It contains pheromones. So that's how the male lobster decides. Also, apparently, the she urine calms him down after the fight.
It would.
Then, are you ready for some romance?
Was that not the romantic bit?
The winning lady lobster goes into the male lobster's burrow and sheds her exoskeleton, gets fully naked.
Oh, wow.
Then they play fight, and then they mate. The male lobster flips her onto her back, uses his swimmerettes, which are sort of like the little frondy mini legs along the tail, to puncture her abdomen and deposit sperm packets into her sperm receptacles, which takes 8 seconds. Then
they Netflix and chill.
Pretty much. She hangs out in the burrow for a week or two because she needs to grow a new exoskeleton. Otherwise, very dangerous for her to go outside with predators. She and the male lobster might eat her old one for nutrition.
They can eat their own exoskeleton.
Yeah.
That's good as well.
Yeah. She shoots out more face piss so that other female lobsters outside the burrow know that she's been mating and not to come in.
This is what you don't hear in the David Attenborough version, isn't it? Left alone, she shoots out more face piss.
And then she can hang on to the sperm packets for a year or 2 years until she wants them.
Oh, like a sperm bank.
And then she releases 3,000 to 100,000 eggs, which take 9 to 12 months to hatch and become more baby lobsters. But then they drift in the ocean on their own. She's not an active parent after that point.
Right, okay. Yeah. Well, she's done a lot to get there.
So she only mates with one male per season unless his sperm packet is insufficient, in which case she crawls out of his burrow, presumably still naked of exoskeleton, and goes to find another male lobster.
Oh, it's the walk of shame, isn't it? Oh, I've shed my exoskeleton.
Shedding the exoskeleton is so exhausting that 10 to 15% of lobsters die doing it. And the reason that lobsters die of old age is that they're too exhausted to molt their exoskeletons anymore.
Well, that's fascinating.
Relatable.
It's as funny as Phoebe's line. It's just less quick, isn't it? They just needed a 9-second joke.
And actually, Ross and Rachel are each other's lobster because they're an on and off couple with several other partners.
They were on a break.
And also, Ross and Rachel did have a very brief fling, which did result in a child.
And they did piss on each other's faces in that famous episode, the one where Rachel pisses in Ross's face.
The one where Ross pisses 7 times his body length.
They could shoot that naked guy from across the road.
Yeah, the Answer Me This cut of Friends, I think, could be
totally.
surprisingly popular.
Here's a question from Katie, who says, I'm so glad you're back. I was always hoping you'd make a reappearance on my feed.
We sensed that, Katie. We sensed it.
Since you left my ears, I've had a son who's just at an age that he is starting to watch cartoons. And so, naturally, I end up watching along with him. So, Helen, answer me this. What on earth is an anvil? I don't think I've ever seen one in real life. And who decided this would be the weapon of choice in the cartoon world?
Yeah, I suppose actually it is possible in this day and age to go through life never seeing an anvil.
Yes.
I saw anvils. My dad, for some reason, had two, a big one and a little one.
Need a spare?
It's like he had 3 sledgehammers. I don't know why you need 3. Maybe they have subtle differences, like how Martin's guitars have different pickups or whatever.
Yeah. So was this just because he liked doing things with his hands that he wanted an anvil, or is it an essential part of the process for being a sculptor?
Well, if you are doing metalwork, that is what an anvil is for. An anvil is a heavy steel, now made of steel. They have been made of stone, bronze, and iron in the past. Implement. It's usually got 2 protruding ends, sometimes pointy, sometimes not. And they are this heavy because they need to absorb a lot of impact, because they are used for hammering hot metal into shapes. Like if you want it flat, you hammer it on the top. If you want it curved, like a horseshoe, you put it around the curvy end.
Oh, right. So it's not just like a hot plate equivalent. You are using the shape of the anvil to shape the metal. You bend the metal around it. Yeah.
So because you're hammering it really hard and what you've got this red hot metal, the anvil needs to be a pretty solid piece of kit. So a lot of them are 300 pounds, 160 kilos in weight. As a cartoon weapon, a number of reasons for this choice, I think. It's not a gun.
Yes.
Guns aren't fun.
Although in the 1940s, when animated anvils came around, I'm not sure guns weren't fun. I mean, you had Elmer Fudd and that sort of thing.
It is a very distinctive shape that is easy to draw.
Yes.
Other heavy things like a piano are much more complicated to draw from all the different angles. Anvils are really heavy, obviously, so they're going to fall, they're going to hurt, they're going to make a big impact noise. And in the cartoons, they are almost always appearing in an inappropriate, unexpected place, which is funny.
Yes. It's also, this maybe relies on people having experience of seeing anvils in RL. But nonetheless, I've never seen one in real life, but I still know this. Because of Home Alone 2, actually, specifically what I'm about to say. But but obviously in Home Alone 2, because cartoon. It's that thing of, you know that if you pull the rope that's tied to an anvil that's on a beam or a rooftop above you, it's not going to immediately fall on your head. So then you get the joke, don't you? Joe Pesci looks at Daniel Stern. He thinks he's got me, but this rope is solid. And then as they climb up it, then the anvil falls down. They fall down, and then as they fall, bang, bang, hits them straight in the noggin.
Yeah.
Yank once, doesn't fall. Yank twice, doesn't fall. Put your whole weight on it, and Tweety Pie has fucked Sylvester in the face.
Also, when it plunges to the ground, catching the person or creature in its wake, it can make an anvil-shaped hole in the ground.
Yes,
and
that's
then
funny.
someone pulls it out the ground, and you've got a flat Sylvester plastered on it, and someone gets to peel them off and then shake them out so they become 3-dimensional again.
Also, as you're talking, I just remembered the alternative to this. They sometimes do that thing in Looney Tunes where instead of the anvil, they've just got like a triangular box and they write 10,000 tons on the box.
Yes. It's a weight.
It's a weight,
It's not an empty box.
Fine. That's not as funny.
It's not as funny, no.
Because you have to do that connection, don't you? You have to be like 10,000 tons. Oh, so that's heavy. Oh, so that's going to hurt. Whereas anvil is comic shorthand, isn't it? Immediately.
Yeah.
Through the lineage of people actually doing it. It sort of doesn't matter who did it first. The point is someone did it first. Once you've done it, it's shorthand.
Yeah, exactly. And because of that, kids grow up with an acquaintance with anvils, like landline telephones with the curly cord that they may never have seen in real life.
Yeah.
But it's a trope.
Here's a question from an anonymous questionnaire who says, I'm a straight man and I've been happily married to my wife for over a decade. Recently, I started to experiment with painting my nails, brackets, fingers and toes.
Nice.
My wife doesn't like this, Helen. She doesn't think it's nice. She says that it's, quote, not manly for a man to paint his nails. For now, I only paint them when she goes away for work and remove all signs of having painted them before she comes home.
Oh, I'm sorry, Anonymous.
I love my wife very much and I won't do anything to upset her, but I do quite like painting my nails. Helen, answer me this. How can I persuade my wife that there's nothing wrong with a man painting their nails? To be fair, she hasn't said wrong. She said not manly. It isn't manly. It is a traditionally feminine thing to do. I mean, that's a fact.
Incorrect is not a fact.
Really? Go on. Tell me about the history of nail painting. If it goes back pre-women, I'm interested in that.
If it goes back pre-women, well, it's like a lot of things like eyeliner. That was a real kind of male power move.
Yes.
Nail painting is an ancient practice for men. Babylonian warriors were doing it.
Okay.
3,500 BC to intimidate their enemies. It was common in Egypt, China. In fact, there's so many things that are considered manly are really recent. Like people being like, oh, pink's a girl's colour. It used to be considered such a powerful colour. It was a mask colour.
Yeah.
Like even 20 years ago, people were like, oh my God, you're a man carrying a bag. Oh, not a man. The ideas are so fragile. There's a couple of things, anonymous correspondent, that I think are important. It's quite complicated because I think not manly is a concept that really needs to be interrogated. So what would happen if you have a conversation with your wife where she tries to articulate what she means by that? What is manliness to her? Why is that important? And why, in her opinion, is nail paint not it?
She might just be finding the immediate word that comes to mind to mean, this isn't what I was attracted to in you. And I do understand that. Like, you're in a straight relationship, you've never painted your nails before. When she says it's not manly, the manly things she might list might be things that she thinks are attractive to her, and that wouldn't include what she sees as being feminine in this way.
I think it's a big conversation because it is about gendered ideas, and I think a lot of people have still not thought about what constitutes gender and what is the performance of gender, but better late than never for her to do that. And then I wonder if you could also have a gentle conversation with her to get her to think, how would she feel if you were imposing your preferences on her about how she dressed, assuming you don't do that.
Yeah, so if she started doing a thing that she saw as manly and you said, no, I like feminine things.
Right, if she was wearing trousers.
Yeah. The thing is, there is a practical answer to this. That's the thing. If she genuinely doesn't like it, for whatever reason, like, you can interrogate intellectually and culturally why she doesn't like it. But if she genuinely doesn't, and you are trying to be considerate and not get on her nerves, you don't have to paint all your nails. I mean, right. Of course, it's your autonomy in the end, but actually, like, you could just start by painting your little pinky, right?
I think that is a good tip. Paint your pinkies, maybe another nail on each hand. I think also, what colours are you using? Are there colours that she would think were manly enough that she might be able to get behind, like olive green, black being very common on a lot of rock stars.
The goth palette,
nails.
Yes, yeah.
Teal, brown, slate.
Could you paint tiny monster trucks on your nails?
Oh, yeah.
Or joints of meat. Or anvils.
Anvils would be so nice.
That's a good suggestion.
Or is there a sports team that she loves? Paint your nails in the sports team colours, because some people, that shit really works on sports lovers.
I'm not into painting my nails, but because of what we do for a living, I do need to buy makeup. And because I don't know what I'm doing, I've involved my wife in the purchasing process to kind of get on top of that thing of, if there was any awkwardness about me having a makeup bag in the bathroom, she comes to Superdrug with me. She helps me choose my shade. In case you're interested, Ollie Mann uses Maybelline Anti-Age Eraser Concealer. I'm saying that as much as anything for the transcript, so if I forget next time I'm in Superdrug, I can just search an Apple podcast. But she helped me pick out that shade, and it was actually quite fun. Like, she was actually clearly enjoying making me up in that scenario.
Yeah.
And it sort of diffused any awkwardness around it for both of us, I think.
That's cool.
So a way maybe is to have her with you choosing the shade.
Yes.
And let her be part of it rather than doing it and saying, what do you think?
Well, also, maybe you could go for a manicure together as a couple, and she could choose the colour for you. Like, I wonder to what extent this is in her mind as like, oh, this is something that he does that I'm not involved in, that has made my mind go down all these paths about what if he's gay? What if he's trans? Whereas for you, it is part of your expression as a cishet man, but she doesn't understand that. There are a lot of famous cis men that have their own nail polish signs, like Harry Styles, AJ from the Backstreet Boys, Machine Gun Kelly, Tyler the Creator. Are any of these men ones that your wife fancies and would be pleased for you to copy?
But I do think discussing it is the way forward, isn't it? That's basically what we're both saying. You need to communicate about it more. It's something you want to do. It's something she doesn't want you to do. So you need to discuss how you can make it work.
Yeah, and you're absolutely not alone, questioneer. There is the lovely subreddit r/malepolish for a start. It's nice. It's
I'm sure it
people
is.
Like showing the colours they've chosen. I would say always use a base coat so you don't stain your nails.
Right.
Here is a question from Taryn from the land down under, who says, I have been doing some re-listening to old episodes, and in episode 374 you mentioned that Judi Dench had been the narrator on Spaceship Earth at Epcot since 2008, and then you pondered about who it would be after the reopening in 2022. I couldn't rest until I found out who was the current narrator. Unbelievably, Google tells me it's still Judi Dench.
It is, can confirm.
I remain oblivious to exactly what this ride is all about, but Ollie, answer me this. Does this mean that the current narration is the original one from 2008? Or did they do a refresh and get a new record from her because she's just that good?
Okay, Well, thank you, Taryn, for giving me an opportunity to talk about my Easter family holiday to Orlando. Pull up a chair. Spaceship Earth at Epcot was scheduled for refurbishment, but the refurbishment was due to commence almost exactly when COVID hit. So obviously Disney then had other priorities like rescuing the theme park division from going into administration with no visitors in it. So when Epcot reopened, they hadn't refurbished Spaceship Earth, despite the fact they trailed it for years in advance, because it takes the Imagineers years, obviously, to do a new design on an old building. It's difficult to reverse engineer a new concept for not just an existing structure, but like a world-renowned architectural structure. So for people who don't remember, Spaceship Earth is what even if you don't care about Disney at all, right? When I say the word Epcot, the image you've got, the big ball, the spherical dome.
Big ball.
That's Spaceship Earth. And it's an issue because the ride is shit.
Oh.
And it's the symbol of the park. And it's shit in a sort of nostalgic way. It's been shit for so long that people who are now my age remember it being shit when they were 10. And they want their children to have a shit time when they go on it too.
That's how the world is shit.
Yeah, so they can keep that generational experience going. And it's sort of, because of the whole creation of Epcot was all about, Walt's idea of the prototype city of tomorrow, but then he died and he never got to see it. And they've made everything else in there sort of Disney IP. There's a Guardians of the Galaxy ride where there used to be stuff about science. You sort of think it's sweet in a way that they've kept the original attraction, but it is well out of date now. Like, it is just... I mean, you say I don't understand what this ride is about, having never been on it. I've been on this ride at least 3 times in my life. I went to Epcot in, I think, 1989 the first time, and then again in probably 2002-ish, and then again in 2025. And I have no idea what it's about either. When you come off, I remember saying to my kids, because they were asking me, like, what was that about? And I was like, I'm not really sure. Some history and science. But what they have done is maintained the dome, I can say. The sphere is an amazing architectural feat. When you get close up, it's flawless and clean. I don't know how they've managed to keep it still looking like it's brand new when it was built in 1982. It's partly apparently because it's got built-in gutters in it. So it doesn't get manky with rain, because obviously in Florida, when you get a storm, that's quite a big deal. The rain goes straight through it. So if you think about, like, if you held a ball up in the rain, what would happen to everyone standing underneath Epcot queuing to get into Spaceship Earth? They get drenched. But they thought about that, and it channels the water through it, so it's not manky.
That's impressive, because also geodesic domes are notoriously leaky as structures for buildings. They have not been super successful.
The history of it is that Ray Bradbury actually helped the Disney company create it. It's the story of human communication with the metaphor of the Earth as a spaceship. It's a ride that sort of begins with caveman, goes through the Romans and Greeks and says, look, NASA, that's the through line.
Okay.
But it's weird. And then what happens is the last 5 minutes, because it's a 15-minute long ride, the last 5 minutes you go backwards. That sounds fun, but it's not fun because it's going at 2 miles an hour. You go backwards down from the top of the dome to get you back to the beginning where you started. And there is nothing happening at all. So apparently on the most recent design in 2005 or whatever it was when they put Judi Dench on it, they did have scenes that they've since like tarped over with cloth. And so you're just looking at nothing. And then they've got a screen in the car which takes your picture and puts it on things. It's the sort of thing that now you'd see in your local shopping centre. Like, it was so unimpressive to all of the children that we brought with us, this technology. I mean, they can do it on my phone.
Maybe they don't give you anything to do because they want you to think about all that you've learnt in the course of the ride about human invention.
I mean, I love Epcot. So having said everything I've just said, I went there on holiday because I love Epcot.
Do you love it in an ironized way or just a straightforward love way? That's nice.
I love the optimism of, the human race is constantly progressing, and let's celebrate that. It's a shame when the World Expo closes. Let's have a permanent one around a lake. Let's have a big fuck off fireworks display about how wonderful all the countries of the world are. I love the whole park, but it just needs a bit of a brush up, that ride. But actually, this is my hot take. For those of you who are thinking of traveling to Florida, I think it might have been my favourite or second favourite Disney park. The food and drink is actually good. You can get pissed at Epcot. You can walk around drinking, which is great. The topiary is incredible.
Who doesn't appreciate a good topiary?
They had a Kermit and Miss Piggy topiary, which was just superb.
So the Judi Dench commentary is the 2008 recording.
No, it is just the same. They have not updated the ride, yes.
Does it still work? Does the power of the Dench transcend the datedness of the ride and the decades?
It's a classy performance.
Of course.
And to be fair, she was replacing Jeremy Irons, which I'm sure was an equally classy performance. So, I mean, and actually he was replacing Walter Cronkite. So, I mean, they've always had good narrators, to be fair. I don't know who they're going to get. Who has that trust these days?
We're available. We both do voice work.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd do it, definitely.
I wonder if she even knew what she was doing the narration for, if it was just like, oh yeah, sure, it's an hour's recording in London and I don't care.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to get caught out with that sort of thing as a voiceover artist, actually, isn't it? Like, you don't know how your voice is going to get used. You do a thing and then you give someone the rights to use it. They can chop it up, they can move it around, they can choose different bits of it.
Yeah, they can take out all the negatives so it sounds like you're being positive.
Do you do Sarky voiceovers, Helen? I've never been asked to do one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Try this product, it's really good.
Oh, yeah, you're going to love it. You know, some of us can't help the fact that we come across as very sarcastic. Even Martin sometimes doesn't know that I'm being sincere. That's my curse.
What I found in voiceover is that so long as the last two words sound like you're smiling, then it sounds like a voiceover.
Wow.
Even Martin doesn't know that I'm not being sincere. You know what I mean? It's just smile on the last word. It sounds like a voiceover.
That's an incredible tip.
Eugenics. Let's create a better race. Just take the last words.
Yeah, someone's going to clip that and use it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be the spokesthroat for eugenics. Well done.
If you've got a question, then email your question to answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com.
Here's a question from Kristin, who says, at every single job I've worked at in the last 15 years, I will have at least one coworker try to rope me into either buying their MLM bullshit or recruiting me to sell it too. Quick definition, please.
MLM is multi-level marketing, similar to a pyramid scheme, but different in that pyramid schemes are illegal. Some MLMs are also illegal and some territories have banned them. And I think Islam as well is like pretty not on board with them. But a lot of them are legal because technically they are selling products, unlike pyramid schemes, even though the real product is in recruiting more people to the scheme and selling products to them rather than to customers.
Yes. So in some of these, it's not even about making money by recruiting people, it's making money by selling the product to people you've recruited to sell it to other people.
That's right, yes. So you're like, oh, okay, to start as a sales operative or whatever the fuck they're called in the different MLMs, you have to buy a starter pack that costs you like $1,500. And then you just sell those things to people and then you can buy more, but it's very difficult to actually sell that product on in most cases. So people are like, well, I need to make my $1,500 back first.
And then they become the kind of unbearable co-worker that Kristin's describing here.
Right.
She says they could be selling tears from a literal deity and I wouldn't care. I don't want to buy and I definitely don't want to sell.
Very sensible, Kristin, very sensible.
Side note, I've worked in different educational capacities in the US where teachers are underpaid. So that explains all the side hustles.
Yeah. It's a painful reality of many people's economic circumstance that has allowed MLMs to proliferate and make things even worse.
So, Helen, answer me this. What can I do so that people know that, one, I am not now and never will be interested, and two, the harder they try, the more resentful I will become?
Well, here's the issue. You and they have opposite goals.
Yes, sounds like it.
Your goal is to end the interaction as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Theirs is to prolong it. Because the longer you interact, the more likely it is that you will do what they want.
They've been prepped.
Yes.
By their organisation to deal with this conversation.
Absolutely. MLMs teach MLM practitioners. Martin, can you remember what they're called? We listened to the podcast The Dream a few years ago, which was a very interesting season about how MLMs work.
Oh, it's a euphemism, is it? Consultant, advocate, ambassador.
Something like that.
Yeah, like sales partner,
bizpreneur. They teach them no isn't no, it's just a not right now.
Yeah,
because if the people in the MLMs aren't recruiting, they're not making money, so they are constantly hustling. and they have been taught how to deal with nearly every kind of rebuff. So what you need to do is you have to be very firm, and you cannot be subtle. It has to be overt rejection of this, and you cannot give them anything to go on. Don't give them information. Don't give them excuses. Don't give them anything to work with.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So don't say, oh, I don't have time, sorry, or I wouldn't be good at it, because then they can say, oh, here's how you can have time.
Yeah.
Or here's how you be good at it.
Yeah.
But you can sell whenever and wherever you want. You can be your own boss with products that have a lifetime guarantee.
So you got to say, like, no, I'm not interested. Do not ask me again. And just repeat that every fucking time. The repetition might feel really rude, but you have to establish this firm boundary. You got to just keep saying no.
But I think there's a nice way to say that.
Well, you cannot be too nice.
No, but firm, I agree with you.
Assertive.
But isn't there a way to say just basically, I've been approached for this kind of thing before, and I have a policy that I don't get involved with any... You don't want to say it's an MLM scheme because they'll say it isn't. I don't want to get involved with any kind of side hustle or selling products in my workplace.
No, because then they'll be like, well, it wouldn't be in the workplace.
No, I don't want to. I do not.
No,
I do
like,
not. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, that's
I don't
giving-
do that.
If you say in my workplace, that is a qualifier and they can work with that. You have to be more firm than that.
I don't do that then. I don't do that. That's better than...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You've got to say no. And I think saying I don't do that full stop is not particularly softer than what I said. I think you might also need to throw in, I understand what this means to you, but I cannot help you.
Yeah.
Or I cannot participate. And if they keep going, you might have to say, if you're going to talk about this, I will have to leave the room.
Fuck off.
And I've already told you no. The fact that you refuse to stop asking shows that you think of me as a revenue stream, not a friend. If you respect me, stop asking. If you don't respect me, don't talk to me again.
I think we discussed this on the show before, but there was a very committed Christian who lived in the same staircase, they called it in our college, but basically block of the halls of residence that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And she was lovely, and I really liked her in every other way. But she believed that Jesus was going to save everyone's souls from eternal damnation, so she took every opportunity to convert people. And that's sort of like being hustled into someone's MLM, isn't it?
A lot of the same techniques and characteristics.
She's more likely to get into heaven if she gets me into heaven. I'm going to get into heaven. Everyone's a winner. That's how she sees it. And like, I couldn't find these words. I said so many times, I was like, stop inviting me to those things because I'm not going to go to those things. I appreciate that you're a Christian and you enjoy it. It sounds great, but I won't be coming because I'm not a Christian.
Yeah.
And she just wouldn't stop. And it got to the point where you might remember we all had pin boards on our doors because this is sort of pre-social networking. And she was putting invites onto my pinboard, the outside of my door, so that people could see it when they walked past, that I was invited to her thing.
Oh.
And I just found it was getting to the point where I just felt really like she was in my personal space with it. And I'd said no. There was nothing left to say apart from be rude. And I didn't want to be rude because she was a really sweet Christian girl who was like really nice, and I didn't want to be rude to her. It was really difficult. I mean, there was no way to say no.
The fact is, you did say no.
Well, I did say no, but it didn't work.
Yeah, you said there's no way to say no. You did say no, and they didn't respect that. And that is them being very impolite.
Yes, yeah, sure. But I guess the point is, if they believe it that much, if they've been sold so much, there is a cult-like atmosphere to some of this pyramid selling stuff, isn't there?
Yeah.
Whatever you say, they won't understand.
And I don't think it's down to you to convince them that what they're doing is a scam, because they probably don't want to hear it. But I think you can say, can I see the financial records of the business for the past 2 years? I want to see the profits and losses. Because often when you get down to like real numbers, they fuck off because they don't want to have to deal with that reality.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That suggests that you're interested, though. I mean, I guess it depends what the product is, though. So like if it's skincare, simple thing you can say is, I've got sensitive skin, I can't use that.
No, because like they don't care whether you can use it because they're like, well, you're selling it on to other people.
Yeah, I've got sensitive skin.
Don't give them anything. Don't give them any excuses. Excuses are things to work with. It's like when you're telling a lie and you want it to be convincing, don't add too much detail. The detail is the tell.
I know that even when it's not about like you joining the company to sell yourself initially, when it's just about, would you like to buy this product? That can be awkward when you know that there's that grooming business model going on behind the scenes, even if the product is good. And I've been in that situation. So like as a parent, there's a particular brand that offer sort of expensive face creams for newborn mums and stuff.
Newborn mums?
Yeah, mums who've just had a newborn baby.
Not mums when they're born.
There was a lady in our NCT class who was selling it, and it is a good product. But you know that she's selling it so that you then might end up selling it yourself one day. And it's kind of difficult because you almost don't want to give her the false hope. It's almost kind of not to.
Correct, it is kind of not to.
But yes, but you don't think that when you go to shop, do you? You don't think, I'm not going to buy a face cream for £40 from John Lewis because John Lewis are going to think that I'm going to buy a £40 face cream every day. You know, I'm only going to buy one once a year, and that's their problem if they think that. Whereas when it's someone in your house, someone that you know, you feel like, you've given them this sense of loyalty and optimism, and now I'm letting them down.
But I think what hurts about it when it's friends, from the question, it's unclear whether they are her friends or just colleagues, but when it's your friends in particular, feeling like you are just being tapped as a revenue stream, that can really damage a friendship.
Yeah.
It's to Kristen's advantage if she's like, these are just co-workers and I don't really care whether they talk to me or not. Again, like it feels very inappropriate to the workplace that they're in anyway, that they're using it for their bizpreneurism.
I imagine that their employers would be quite pissed off.
Yeah.
That they're like using the workforce as a sales opportunity.
A resource.
You know, if you're pissing people off, it means that they're going to work less well with that co-worker.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to talk to them.
I guess you could maybe offer them exchange, sell them your MLM in return.
Ooh.
Yeah, why aren't you seeing this as a sales opportunity?
I don't know if you've ever helped your mum build a website. It is the kind of torment from which there is no respite. If she asks, what's a widget again? I will kill her with a rusty spike, or a brick, or a spade, or a chainsaw.
But Squarespace is so easy, even your mum can use it. She can drag and drop and cut and paste, that's all there is to it. So Helen, put that spike down, I beg you, for Christ's sake, don't do it!
Sorry, Mum.
Thank you very much to Squarespace for sponsoring this episode of Answer Me This. We appreciate it so much
that
it fills us
with
joy, I was thinking.
Great. Okay,
Yeah.
just checking.
Yeah.
We heard from some listeners, Archie and Abigail, wedding photographers who shot a wedding in Denmark last year.
Oh, yes, because we talk about the weird traditions.
And they said, oh, yes, we saw all those weird traditions you talked about in the last episode. And I was like, yeah. But I was looking at their website, bowlofcorks.co.uk. I was like, I bet this is a Squarespace website, as I clicked from exquisite photo to exquisite photo with the clear layout. I could easily find everything I needed.
Yes.
Like, oh, yeah, I know it. That's Squarespace all over this.
There is no finer way to showcase your offerings. And is easy to start with as well. Like, I think sometimes when you see a finished website like that, it can be a bit daunting.
I could never. You could ever.
You could.
If you want to try out for yourself with whatever you're doing, whether it be photographing Danish weddings or something else, head to squarespace.com/answer to use the 2-week free trial, have a play around, build yourself something.
And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code
ANSWER
to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Hello, Helen and Ollie. It's Martin from Leicester. There are approximately 10 cafes and coffee shops in Leicester and Leicestershire, England, which I visit over the course of a few months. I have just noticed that the ones which serve the nicest coffee have the least comfortable chairs, and the places with the most comfortable chairs are the ones that serve the least delicious coffee. Perhaps this has something to do with the places with good chairs and mediocre coffee being part of large chains, and vice versa, though this isn't always the case, and I don't know why that would be either. I choose cafes and coffee shops for their coffee and for somewhere nice to sit. I don't often work at one, but neither do I often take my coffee away with me. I try to choose independent shops, but about a third of the places I frequent are part of larger chains. Ollie, answer me this. Why is the level of comfort of chairs at a cafe inversely related to the quality of the coffee served by that cafe? And is this a trend elsewhere?
We faced this exact issue, didn't we, Helen, on our recent excursion to London?
Yes.
We wanted to support decent coffee shops, independent or not, but if I want to sit on a bench, I would go to a fucking bus stop.
Wow.
It was so objectionable, wasn't it? We kept choosing coffee shops, be like, oh yes, that looks like a place that would do a good, your ice mocha, wasn't it, your order?
Yeah, ice mocha.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, sit on a sharp spike while I drink it. No, thanks.
You'd get close and you'd be like, oh, they've got exactly what we want. But look, we have to sit over a sewer. I don't want to do that.
Saves time when you're evacuating the coffee.
It does make you wonder whether there is a conspiracy here in exactly the proportions that you suggest, that it's like good coffee equals bad seating. And why would that be? I suppose it's two things, isn't it? You are signalling as the coffee shop, we have shit chairs because we care most about the coffee. Like over your comfort, over your desire to hang out here. Our coffee is so good.
Greatness.
Yeah. You will sit on this tire and you will fucking love it.
Tired with luxury.
The other reason, I suppose, is it gets you out of there, doesn't it? That's the other point. It shouldn't be so flagrantly obvious, but I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? They make more money by moving you on. And I mean, that's what Starbucks did, isn't it? They're the totemic coffee shop. And you can sort of see the origins of both of what I've said in their story. The original Starbucks, after all, was just a shop selling beans. It was about going in, get your coffee, and then go away, because it's not about sitting around.
Did you just describe Starbucks as the totemic coffee shop?
I did.
That's very mythical.
Well, it does have a mythical creature on its logo, as we've discussed before, Martin.
That's true.
Yeah. With a splayed tail. You know, also in Starbucks, you've seen that journey, haven't you? From the sort of Central Perk style thing where you'd have a sofa that would get covered in body odour and grease, to over the time it becoming a place where they put in such utilitarian furniture that people don't want to be in there anymore. And I feel like there should be a happy medium. I think we all agree on this. Yes, move me along. Yes, signal that the coffee is important. But let me sit on a chair. Let me sit on an actual chair with a padded back. Yeah.
It hurts to sit on just a plank.
Exactly.
Is it that the bad coffee shops are like, hey, but at least we've got comfy chairs? What is your priority?
I fear that.
I don't think it's that. I think it's like a small independent coffee chain is trying to project a certain kind of urban chic, isn't it? And that very often translates to like hard surfaces and hard seating. That sort of bare brick, bare pipework kind of vibe, which still seems to be the dominant, vibe for an independent artisanal coffee shop.
Bare filament bulbs.
Bare filament bulbs.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with lampshades. Also good. I mean, this is the thing. So, like, we've been podcasting for long enough that
I'll say.
Too long, some would say.
When I used to go and do interviews, I'd suggest going to a coffee shop because soft furnishings, right? I'd excuse the background noise to the audience by saying we were recording in a coffee shop, and that would be kind of like nice background hum. But you'd know that they'd be sitting on a soft seat, that there would be, like, say, lampshades. Whereas now the acoustics are appalling because it is all those hard. It sounds like you're in an aircraft hangar. Also, there's here's a reference for long-time listeners. There's the branch a giraffe aesthetic, isn't there? Which is also a sort of global ubiquity to all the designs of coffee shops. It's the same with Airbnbs. It's the same with all kinds of like contemporary stores where it's designed to be Instagram friendly, isn't it? It's designed to look good on social media. But that means actually it's particularly unoriginal and tedious because it looks the same as everywhere.
I was reading a little interview with Stuart Murdoch of Bell and Sebastian recently in which he was recommending a sort of like rubberized seating pad he takes everywhere with him.
So then you can sit on an uncomfortable chair and be on a comfortable chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I suppose you're back to then, why don't you just have a coffee at home, in a sense? Like if you're bringing your own furniture with you, what are you actually buying? What's enjoyable about the experience you're paying for, really?
What you're paying for is the renewed sense of appreciation of your own home when you get there. Here's a question from Lewis, who says, it's summertime! This means sunscreen is necessary even where I live in the usual grey and cold Scotland. Cue a lot of people shouting, you have to wear it year-round anyway, or even if it's grey because of UVA. When I apply sunscreen, says Lewis, the smell takes me back to holidays as a child, which made me realise that the smell of sunscreen seemingly hasn't changed for decades. Ollie, answer me this. What gives sunscreen its characteristic smell? Why can't I easily buy sunscreen with different scents? And how hard is it to get sunscreen that smells different, or indeed which has no smell at all?
Okay, it isn't difficult to get sunscreen that smells different. I mean, you can pretty much do the obvious things and type into search engines and say what you want it to smell. The one I use is Ultrasun. I'm a fan of that, which is the sort of neutral, efficient Swiss one that smells of nothing at all. But if you like the sort of vacation vibes that you're describing, there is a brand called Vacation, which I found. According to them, combines notes of coconut, banana, pool water, pool toy, and swimsuit lycra.
Wow, that's what the sunscreen smell is.
Yeah.
Lycra.
So, okay, the whole panoply, seriously, of fragrances are available, Lewis. Check them out.
Really? Onion?
Yeah, inevitably.
'Cause that's what I want for my summer smell.
In all seriousness, Tommy Bahama do a cucumber one, so
Oh.
it's like cucumber eye mask smell.
That's nice.
But I know what you mean. Like in a Tesco in Scotland, can you easily buy a sunscreen that doesn't smell of sunscreen? And the answer to that, perhaps with the exception of Hawaiian Tropic being the only sort of mainstream brand that at least smells pungently of a particular, like, you know, that's Hawaiian Tropic, that smell, don't you? It's either that or Malibu being bathed up. You're right that they do basically all smell of coconut, cocoa butter, jasmine, and essential oils. And that's because that's what they have in them.
Oh, okay. For any reason other than just scent?
No.
Presumably they're not sun filtering. No. Okay.
No, it's beach vibes, and it is nostalgia. But in sunscreen in particular, there are fewer masking ingredients because that might stop the active ingredient from working. And so they don't put loads of extra chemicals in it. You're basically smelling the ingredients more than you do in other products.
I sort of interpreted this question as Lewis asking, not can I buy sunscreen that smells different once, but why isn't there a range where it's like lavender flavour, apple flavour?
Well, I think because people would be suspicious of it. You know, that's not what sun cream is, so no one's done it. Actually links us well into the next question, which is all about variety. And it's from Lindsay, who says, Helen, answer me this. Why do manufacturers only sell stock cubes in single varieties? No one needs 24 cubes of beef stock.
Well, they sell them in like little boxes with like 6 or 8 cubes.
Yeah, also like a professional kitchen making beef soup would need 24 cubes of beef stock.
Also, some people use a lot more stock cubes than you'd imagine. Like they'll sprinkle them on food like seasoning.
Why don't they make a sort of stock selection box so that you can have a variety of stock cubes? Is it just to make more money by forcing you to buy hundreds of stock cubes?
For hundreds.
Well, across a lifetime.
Like I said, they come in boxes of 8.
Yeah.
I mean, are you yearning for a pick and mix counter that is just stock cubes?
I can already see the issue with a variety box of stock cubes.
Go on.
Well, it's dietary concerns, isn't it? Hindus don't eat beef. You know, what's halal, what's kosher.
Allergens infecting the other cubes.
So, like, you know, you could sell just the vegetarian ones, but that's not what she wants. She wants what I imagine most people would want, which is beef and chicken and vegetable and fish. But then you've got a product that doesn't appeal to everybody.
Yeah, or maybe doesn't appeal to anybody. I have a couple of thoughts. One is, do the different flavours really taste that different to each other? Because the main
outrageous
point of them is like saltiness and savouriness.
Okay.
So are people like, well, I'll buy beef, but if you made me taste that or vegetable with my eyes shut, I couldn't really tell you what I was having. Do most people only really want one flavour? And also, if you had the multi-pack and you're getting like 2 cubes each of flavours, you're probably not using the flavours at the same pace.
No,
so then
that's the
one
issue.
will start
Yeah,
piling
I
up.
can see
So
that, yeah. Like lamb stock, how often are you going to do that?
if you do want multiple flavours, you probably do want separate boxes and replenish them at the rate you use them.
Yeah.
And it's a small, cheap purchase and they last forever. So, like, shelf instability is not really an issue. I was trying to think, why is this different to other variety packs of, like, crisps or Kellogg's variety packs of little cereals?
Don't just chuck in the Kellogg's one like that's just a random example. I mean, that's the king of all variety packs.
It is.
That's the variety pack we all grew up wanting and loving.
Yeah, and even the ones that no one wanted and were left behind, you still ate them.
Yeah.
Is the difference that there you might think, well, I'll buy a full-size pack of Crunchy Nut cornflakes, whereas with stock, you're not scaling up to anything. I did so much web browsing to try to find a palpable answer or variety packs of stock, and I thought I had found variety packs from Knorr, but what it is a 3-pack with like a box each of chicken, beef, and tomato plus chicken. So you could assemble that yourself. They're not boxed together.
I see. So Lindsay is
Waste of
right.
time.
They don't have stock selection boxes. I quite like the idea of a stock advent calendar.
Wow. But there's only like 4 flavours.
No, there aren't. I've already named 5. I reckon there must be a pork one as well. That's 6. Or like some exotic, you know, Swedish herring stock. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're a stock fan and you're getting a stock advent calendar, you'd want some weird stocks. And they could even actually, because I get the Fever Tree advent calendar each year and you get a gin alternating with the tonic.
Oh.
They could do what they do with that and they could alternate a flavour pairing with the stock cube.
Wow.
So
okay.
like a little recipe on alternate days that tells you how to use it.
All right. I think that's an okay idea with a very limited customer base. You know what would make more sense is a stock stocking.
Yes, I see what you've done. Yeah, there's got a natural pun built in.
Yep. Add it to our merch store in time for Christmas.
If you got a question, answer me this podcast to Google Mail.com. But you haven't
gotta scoop answer me this podcast to googlemail.com. So ask your question to Ellen and Ali, Martin the sound man, to shake all the Derek to pieces. Answer me this podcast to googlemail.com.
Here's a question from Andrew from Melbourne who says, I've recently gone back wading into the dating pool.
Ooh, splish splosh.
Dipping a toe into the various apps. For context, I'm a cis man looking for women.
Okay.
On one such app, I have recognised a few women who are not quite celebrities, but people with public profiles whose work I am aware of.
Gotcha.
It's got me thinking, what is the etiquette of dating app flirtation with someone who's got a public profile? Where on the spectrum between I've never heard of your work and OMG, I know everything about your work and love it all, do you think is the optimum position? Is it just best to acknowledge that they're someone who's well known and then move past it and actually get to know them as a person? Answer me this, please.
Well, since you said please, the last sentence of your question, yes. Acknowledge them, then move past it and get to know them. Don't be creepy and say, well, I know all about what you've been doing. You could say, so what were you working on today or this week? And then see what they want to talk about.
Yeah, let them lead.
Maybe, although I suppose if they don't, then let's. I'm trying to think of a famous person this could plausibly be. Carol Vorderman, right? It's Carol Vorderman.
Yeah.
Right. Now, imagine you know it's Carol Vorderman. She doesn't know that you know it's Carol Vorderman. You've decided to let Carol Vorderman lead, because why wouldn't you? And Carol doesn't say at any point, when you say, what have you been working on? What's, how's life? She's not mentioned anything at all about science, technology, I'm a broadcaster, I'm interested in left-wing politics. She said nothing, right? You're giving her agency not to say, I am Carol Vorderman.
That could be a second date thing to say that you're Carol Vorderman.
At some point then, you've made it more awkward by leaving her the opportunity to raise it by not raising it, because it's then an unspoken thing. Whereas if you'd said right off the bat, oh, you're Carol Vorderman, nice to meet you. I'm Andrew from Melbourne, and this is about me. That might have negated it ever being an issue in your own head, you know?
We have interactions with people who know who we are and we don't know who they are. They know us via podcast.
Yes.
And I always try to, equalise the interaction as quickly as I can by asking them questions about them, because they know stuff about me and I don't know about them.
Yeah.
And that tends to be fairly cool very quickly. But I haven't done dating because I've been with Martin for 20 odd years.
20 odd years.
So I asked a friend of mine, Andrea Salenzi, who used to make a podcast called YOY, which recounted her dating adventures. She sent some advice. She says, 1, connect over something completely unrelated to her career. We are all rich, multidimensional humans outside of our professional personas, so focus on getting to know her first.
Agree.
So
yeah.
You might need to figure out what is involved in getting to know her, and what they choose to tell you is things that you can then ask follow-up questions.
That's good, but it doesn't negate my, hey, Carol Vorderman, nice to meet you, and then talking about other things. That's still a possible approach.
Point 2, if there is mutual interest, banter, etc., share revealing details about yourself, your full name, what you do for work, not PIN number. This helps balance the fact that she's already somewhat exposed while you're relatively anonymous.
Okay, but there's an element of pretend, isn't there? Pretend you don't know who this person is, that's all.
I think all first dates are kind of that, aren't they?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Of course
You're
they are.
all
Yeah.
playing versions of yourselves and also having to test whether you're safe, whether they feel safe. There's a lot going on. I think a difficulty with that tip is just not talking too much about yourself and the other person thinking this guy is so boring, he's just talking about himself. So be mindful of that. Andrea's point 3, only then you can mention that you recognise her work with a genuine compliment, but don't dwell on it.
Yeah. Don't be like, you were great on Countdown, but when you used to host Loose Women, I found it kind of patchy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Don't be like, I need to prove that I'm better than you. Like, I bet I'm better at maths than you. I think when people say something to you like, I really enjoy your work and I particularly liked this episode of The Modern Man that you did, say. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a nice compliment, right? To be like, I have paid attention to it and I respect it.
I have thoughts on what you just said, but I want you to get to the end of the list. Is that the end of the list?
Point 4, do not use this new connection to try to network or advance your own interests beyond the chance to date her.
My mum's always wanted to go to the BAFTAs. Don't say that.
Yeah, that's more of a third date chat. Point 5, do not allow yourself to believe that any of her brilliance has rubbed off on you simply because she engaged with you on a dating app. Don't claim you dated her unless you actually, date her. Don't mention this at a dinner party.
Yeah.
Although Andrea said I did this on the other side. I dated a few well-known men and I love name dropping them.
That's the thing, isn't it? This is the thing about human nature. However well you're behaving on an app with them, until you're actually in a relationship with them, it is just amazing to tell your mates. I think when you raise people at our level, I think it is a different thing because obviously there are exceptions that prove the rule. But generally speaking, I find people who make work in the public space do so because they quite like, to some degree, the attention they get from it, from the public, right? And so in my personal experience, it happens rarely that someone comes up to me and says, oh my God, you're Ollie Man, I love Answer Me This. It happens, I'd say, every, 6 weeks. If that happens every 6 weeks, it's really nice. It makes me feel good. If it happened every week, it would probably make me feel good. If it happened to the extent where I'm aware every time I get on the train that everyone's thinking, oh my God, that's Ollie Man, that's a completely different kettle of fish, right? And I think the dividing line, therefore, comes on the level of celebrity you're talking about. If you're Madonna or Paul McCartney...
If I am...
then I can imagine that you would genuinely find it a relief if someone didn't know who you were. But I think that has to be a genuine... You can't fake that. Like, either you do or don't know who they are. It might be that the perfect match for them initially is someone who doesn't come with all the baggage about who they are.
Well, I think it's probably that you date other celebrities with an equal amount of baggage.
Possibly, because that's the only way to deal with it. But I think for most people that are just like known but not famous, I think it's kind of fine to just deal with it head on with a compliment, as you say.
It makes sense why like big celebrities are using Raya so that the expectations are just more explicit already because that's the app that you're meeting on.
Genuine issue, though, I think, is if you're a super fan, it's just honest, isn't it? To not just give one compliment, to be like, oh my God, I loved your third album and I loved the Christmas special and I love that bit where you did a cameo in the office.
Save it. Hold on to it.
Okay, hold on to it. Yeah, okay. But every time you say those things, you do make people more awkward. Again, I can only imagine through magnification, but even at our level, there's that thing of, if someone's just outed themselves as someone who listens to this show and has done for 18 years, I am then thinking, as I'm talking at a party, I'm thinking, oh, do they know this anecdote? Have we told that on the show?
Do they want to collect a lock of my hair?
And or like, is this different to what they think I am based on what they've heard of me? And so that does put like a performance pressure on you, which they wouldn't have wanted to do.
Listeners, I'm sure that many of you have been on either side of this interaction.
Yes.
We would appreciate your input since all of us are inexperienced in this area. So send us your feedback to the same place you send us your questions in the form of writing or voice note. Our contact details are on our website,
answermethispodcast.com.
And if you go there, you can see the balloon portrait that Rob, the balloon artiste, has made of us since we spoke of him last.
He has come through magnificently. Thank you, Rob.
Absolutely.
Remember as well that you can support this show at patreon.com/answermethis. You can listen to bonus bits from every episode, which hit the cutting room floor. What's a more charitable way of saying that?
Too good to put in the main show.
You can hear an ad-free version of the show on the Patreon wall. And you can watch back Petty Problems, our live video stream thing.
Yes, where we dealt with your trivial concerns. And who knows what else is coming down the pipeline for you valiant patrons. Patronize us at patreon.com/answermethis. And you can also check out our other work. What's the latest in Ollie Man verse?
I do multiple podcasts. You can discover them all at ollieman.com. But the one I want to highlight this month, Helen, is a 4-part series that I'm hosting for the BBC, all about the massive theme park that Universal Studios are going to be building in Bedfordshire, 25 minutes from my house.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It's a big story in my life.
I bet. This is a perfect Ollie Man project.
Yeah. If you've enjoyed hearing me talk about theme parks in this episode, then you can enjoy 4 hours of me talking about theme parks to fellow theme park nerds.
Oh.
I find out what we're going to see in this new theme park, how one goes about building and designing a theme park, and we ask whether Bedford could plausibly be the next Orlando. That sounds ridiculous, but you'll find out why it isn't. If you like the sound of that, then you can find it on BBC Sounds. What you need to search for is a bit cumbersome, this. I'll put a link in the show notes as well. What you need to search for is Roller Coaster Universal's Bedfordshire Journey. That's what the show's called. You find it on BBC Sounds. Helen.
The Illusionist is back with 4-letter word season, including an episode about bleep and an episode about and a quiz of 4-letter words that don't need to be bleeped. And also got some events coming up. Martin and I are participating in a live show collaboration with the podcast Material Girls, used to be known as Witch Please. That's on the 3rd of July in Vancouver. And tickets are also on sale for an event I'm doing in October with Samin Nosrat, who's got a new cookbook coming out, and I get to interview her about it on stage in Vancouver. So go to theillusionist.org/events for tickets to those things.
We're both living our lives, aren't we? You're interviewing a woman about a cookbook on stage. I am interviewing theme park nerds about a theme park in Bedfordshire. I think whoever wrote our school reports could have predicted this.
Oh, and Martin and I have a piece that is going to go out on Radio 4 at 4 p.m. British time on the 22nd of July, 2025. It's called Souvenirs, which is a really beautiful story about two friends in the late 19th, early 20th century who set up a printing press together, and then almost immediately their friendship fell apart, and then they spent 15 years fighting over the custody of their in-house typeface. And it's this like very cool music-y piece that Martin scored, and it's very funny but also very emotional, even though it's about typefaces.
It's a roller coaster.
That sounds great. Martin, what are you doing?
I've been working a lot on other people's podcasts. I've been doing the music for the new Mubi season.
Cool. That's a very good podcast.
Really good. And I've been doing the mix on Slapped, which is a new series from Drilled about this Greenpeace and the Standing Rock protests. Slightly more serious in tone than
cerebral, but actually intelligent podcast series.
Yeah, if you need a dose of politics and protest and environmentalism. Then.
Also, if you enjoyed Martin's little song earlier about animal love, where can they find more music?
You can go to my website, martinostwick.com, or search for Pale Bird Music.
And if you want more Answer Me This, there are 200 episodes more which we have paywalled for your convenience at answermethisstore.com. Along with our exclusive albums and best-ofs.
There's also more than 200 free episodes.
Yeah. Show them to Carol Vorderman. She'll love it.
She can count them all. She can count up to 407.
So that should be enough, I think, to put in your ears until we return on the last Thursday of next month.
31st of July is when we're back.
Bye!
Hi, it's Matt here. This week on the Slow Newscast from The Observer, how to disappear.
If you want to be found, now is the best time in history to be found.
As I was saying earlier, I had a sneaky feeling he might be dead.
The only way I could then pursue them is via door-to-door knocking.
The story of how people go missing without even realising. The people who find them. Listen to the Slow Newscast wherever you get your podcasts.